It's time to get started. I'll just go over the sick and so forth, and then later we'll have more announcements. Leonard Clark is at home, recuperating from a stroke. Larry Sullivan has been dismissed from the hospital and he's at rehab. Shirley Groves is in grave condition, really bad condition right now, so their family needs your prayers. And Nancy York is at the Stilley House. I think it was announced that she had gone to rehab or something, but she's actually at the Stilley House. Gina Hutchison's home recovering from surgery. And Sherry Coble she's back with us. And Tommy's back with us. Delia Riley is sick this morning. Any more sick? Okay. Brother Hal's going to talk to us this morning, and we're glad to have him. And we really appreciate his work. And I guess it's floor is yours.
Good morning. It's good to see everyone here. It's good to be here. I was looking around for Jason, but I don't see him. But I heard he was up in Maryland somewhere, and I thought, what in the world is up in Maryland? But it must be something really good for him to go all the way up there. So hope that he and his family have a good trip there and enjoy their time away. I know that you're looking forward to having them back next week. My name is Hal Ferguson with the Chomala Mission. My wife Mary is here with me this morning. It's always a pleasure to come up this way, up in Kentucky. We lived in Kentucky for about 7.5 years. A lot of that was in Murray, Kentucky. So this was kind of old stomping grounds for us when our kids were in elementary school and just starting to go into middle school. And about the time we decided to go do full-time mission work in Tanzania in 2000. So this is kind of familiar. It's good to be able to come up in this area once again and be able to see you. I didn't know about this congregation back in those days. I might have heard about it, but we were kind of limited where we were. You never know how time was going to move on. But I received a message from Brother Darian. I appreciate him and his work. And I guess he's the deacon of missions, and so he's kind of my communication guy. When we talk about Chomala Mission and the things that are going on. And so he indicated that the church wanted to have an update report, which we're really happy to do that. I try to give updates maybe every 2 or 3 years. Some churches say come every year. Some churches say we don't ever hear from you. So I get everything in between. I did bring some newsletters. I brought 2 issues, actually 4 issues. We mail them out 2 months at a time, and they're back in the foyer. Feel free to get a copy of that. Also, feel free to go to our website, chomalamission.com, and you can read any and all of our newsletters or anything about the mission, pictures, and just basic information about Chomala. We try to keep that updated. Just a little something, I don't know whether you guys knew Andrew Conley. I think you did. Recently, I received about almost 100 audio sermons by Brother Conley when he was preaching at Seagoville. And the gentleman that gave it to me, he said that he had maintained a website for a long time, but he had basically gotten where he couldn't maintain it any longer. He wanted to know if we would be, able or wanted to have those sermons. So I said, we'd love to have that. So I'm working on putting a link on our website. So if you want to hear some of the old Andrew Conley sermons, audios, they're all exceptionally good, very rich, full of scripture, full of insight that Brother Conley was known for. And so we hope to have those up and available before too awful long. So that's a little bit of interesting things there for that. Well, let me go ahead and move on into the, make sure everything's working right. That was the wrong way. Okay, that's definitely the wrong way. So let me go back to the start. What did I do wrong, brothers? I did something very wrong here. There we are. Okay, you fixed me, I think. And make sure I go to the right when I do that. Okay. So you already know who we are. Mary and I have been working full time with Chamala Mission since 19. We've been working with the mission with the School of Preaching back starting in '04. And so Chamala's not a strange place to us. We now have a son that's there. I think I mentioned that to you the last time we were here, and I'll mention them in the newsletter or in the presentation this morning. The Dalreda congregation continues to be the overseeing church of that work. And so if you ever are down in the Montgomery area, they're just down the highway from Faulkner University as they oversee the work at Chamala. Tanzania, as you know, as you probably remember looking at your maps and things, and here's just another particular map showing the location of it. We'll go into a lot of details as far as the country itself. Things change over time as far as getting to Chamala. I say it's gotten easier. It did get a little easier, but the problem is, as with a lot of airlines these days, they don't always fly on time. And that is an understatement when you go to third world countries. And so we've had to spend more time trying to get there and more time trying to get back from there than normally we did. And I think I picked up a kind of a little cold coming back. We just returned back on the, what was it, 19th of this month. And so we had been there for a little over a month, left on the 15th of August, returned back. And of course we had our second son's newest baby had his first birthday, so we had to hang around Murfreesboro for that. But we finally got home Saturday night, and so we've been home for a little over a week, actually. Again, the country is beautiful in so many ways as far as just going there and seeing the places, the people, wonderful people. There's a gentleman, a man named Charles. He works for he's kind of our taxi guy. He picks us up at the airport. He carries us around, takes us out to eat, takes us back, makes sure we go to the airport on time in Dar es Salaam. And he's a member of the Pentecostal church. I've been trying to talk to him over and over. He's a super great guy. They have a good place to stay. It's safe, secure, and he's very conscientious. And so I appreciate people like that, and I kind of feel like him, like I think Paul did and some of the people that he wrote about. He prayed the Lord would have mercy on him. And we just pray that the Lord will have mercy on him, that he'll be able to hear the gospel enough times that it will prick his heart, and he will obey the gospel one day. But he's been a good friend helping us get around when we are in Dar es Salaam. Our first visit was in 2002 when we were living in Arusha, and we'll never forget that visit and the influence that it made on us. I may have told you about the little wagon wheel story. If so, you've already seen this. You can go to sleep till I finish it again. But you know, the story, the idea of a wagon wheel has a hub, spokes, and so on. And so the mission's kind of like a wagon wheel. You've got all these different works that take place. The School of Preaching, the primary school, the secondary school, the hospital, the missionaries, School of Preaching, the farm, the estate, all of these different programs and parts of the work. And yet they all have one thing in common. Their purpose is Luke 19:10, for the Son of Man has come to seek and save the lost. That's what the work is all about. And anything that can help us to accomplish that in a direct or indirect way, we want to continue that. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Having a hospital, having a primary and secondary school kind of keeps us in good graces with the government, and it allows us to continue to operate in the country. Some countries are more sensitive to those things and some are not. Tanzania is very sensitive to what you do socially for the country. In fact, when Brother Conley came back and described the need to build a hospital in the 60s, it was because the government required that all religious organizations have to do something, and NGOs have to do something to help the people socially. And so a hospital was formulated out of that concept. As far as the mission is concerned, the property, you can get on Google Earth. I like to do that occasionally. It's very easy. I just get on Google Earth and I'll type in Chamala, and it takes me all around the world and brings me right here. And you can see that view right there. And you'll notice a difference. You can always find the mission. It's very easy because it's a little square of green area. It's 450 acres roughly. And it's because we don't cut all our trees down. Everywhere around the mission, they've cut the trees down, more or less. And so there's just a nice little outline of the property based on the fact that we don't just let people come and cut our trees down. And so that kind of helps us, people able to see it if they're looking on the map. And if you pull it up, you'll zoom in, you'll see where it'll say Chimala Mission Hospital, or it'll say Chimala Primary School or Secondary School, and those kind of things. So you kind of see the layout of the property, and I won't go into all the details about that. It is interesting if you're interested in the historical and geographical layout and background of the mission. It's quite rich in history. Our son Nathan, his wife Christy, and they have 3 children, and she has one on the way. She's due in December. We were toying with the idea of trying to go back in December because she is going to have the baby in at Chimala, actually. Not the hospital, but in her house. So that's kind of going way back. But that's what she wants to do. And you know, it's all legit and everything. She's got a nurse midwife that'll be flying in to Chimala and helping her there in the latter weeks. But keep it in your prayers, and everything goes well, that she has a good delivery. Lord willing, they will plan to come back home on furlough probably right before Thanksgiving next year. So they will have been there nearly 2 years without coming home, and that's a long time. I know we go over there sometimes, and we stay several weeks, and everything seems different when we come home. When you stay there 2 years, it's a different world when you come back, and they call that reverse culture shock. And so you will definitely know it, and they will definitely know it as well. We also have a new family, Lee and Tara Wright, and Emily and Brody. Their children, they're from Texas. He's a gospel preacher. He went to Southwest School of Biblical Studies. They both have masters in education, special education. Lee is every bit of what you see there. He's just like romping, ready to go. And that's his personality. He just burns energy 24/7. And he's excited to be there. They've moved in. They're acclimating well. He's still trying to learn how to drive on the wrong side of the road from the wrong side of the car, but he is getting that done. The mission congregation, it's probably a good place to stop here in a minute. This congregation is the largest church in that area. Congregation, perhaps the church in Mbeya, the Forest Church, maybe a little larger, maybe not. It's hard to say. They do have elders, and they have 4 elders. And I approached them, actually first I approached our elders at Dalraida in Montgomery about the idea that one day we need to turn the mission over to the local people. That's the inevitable work that all mission work should go towards, making them eventually be the overseeing church, being responsible for their oversight, their growth, their funding, the whole 9 yards. So it's their work. And so I approached the elders about that at Dalraida, about talking to the local elders of the mission congregation, which the building's located in the front center of the property, that if we can get the farm program to be able to fund the mission, that it makes sense to turn this over to them. But they had to be ready for that. They had to be prepared for that. And there's a lot that has to happen before that. We're still working through the kinks of running a farm program, and I'll tell you a little more about that. But what does that have to do with Walnut Grove? Well, what I want to say about the congregation here is I know that the ladies have been doing programs of making dresses and doing things like that we've picked up, put on, we ship it on a 40-foot container, we unload it, and we've been doing that for years and years. Well, the last one we did cost us $23,000. That's not counting anything else. That's just the shipping of it. That's the shipping and the clearing, transport from Dar to Chimala. That's a lot of money. That's port fees, demurrage fees, that's all kinds of, clearing agency fees. There's all these fees that you have to pay, taxes that you have to pay, all these things to get things over there. And then when you add to that equipment that we had to buy here, like we bought a 3-bay refrigerated mortgage, an x-ray machine, a bunch of other things we put on the container, and the transport of going to places like the Panhandle, Texas, and then South Alabama, and all in between, you're accumulating a huge amount of money to ship these containers and send these supplies. We can buy things over there now. Like recently, we just bought a new ultrasound over there, because they didn't have one. The one they had quit working. You can buy a lot of these kinds of things there now that we couldn't buy before. Even though it's a little more expensive than you can get in the States, it's there, and they can have it in just a few days. So as far as collecting items, putting them on containers, shipping them over there, and bringing them there, we're basically bringing that program to an end. And what we're doing instead of that, as far as the program where the ladies were making book bags, making dresses, making baby caps, receiving blankets, diaper shirts, all this kind of things that they made that were distributed to the hospital and to the schools, I approached the elders at Chamala about the idea of their ladies starting this program. And let's turn it over from the Americans to the Tanzanian churches to start the program and let them do that. They already have sewing machines. We have some sewing machines. We can donate to it. And all we would need to do is assist them with purchasing materials. They have beautiful, colorful, all kinds of variety, shapes, textures of materials over there to make things that they do here. In fact, one of the ladies, one of the elders, his wife, Bernard Kalanga, his wife Lita, is a seamstress by trade. She has her own machine. She does things. And so we want her to lead the program. Mary met with them the Sunday before we left after services, met with the ladies, explained the things, showed them the patterns of the book bags, of the different things that we make, have done in the States, and that we want to transition to let this be their work so that when they go to the hospital with these items, they can say, this is from the local church. This is from the Mission Congregation. This is from the Mission Church of Christ. And as much as we'd like to say this is from the Walnut Grove Church of Christ or the Dalhart Church of Christ or the whatever Church of Christ from the United States, that doesn't really mean a lot to them because they don't know who we are. But they know who the Mission Congregation is. And that, to me, that also helps to emphasize and to promote the local church among the different, in the village as far as the hospital and the schools and those kind of things. Beginning every year, we hand out about 550, 560 book bags that are made in the States. They can make them over there, and we want them to do that. So that's what I wanted to mention as far as in lieu of the program of picking up items and shipping them over there, that we want to get them to do that because almost everything else we can get over there. And so it's kind of, in life you have changes and you have transitions, and this is one of those transitions that we really feel like we need to make. And so we're hoping that everybody understands that, and I know I might have spent too much time on that. If you have questions on that, you can ask me later on after services. Here's some elders, and I'll just move on here. As far as the School of Preaching, we continue to operate the School of Preaching. It is now under the leadership of Bernard Kulanga, who was our first director. He was a hospital director for 27 years, and then he directed the CBI. He then retired from that, did something else for a while. We invited him back in 2019. We needed a new director, and he volunteered to become our new director. So he's now currently the director. I'm sorry I don't have a picture of him in this slide presentation. You can see him on the website. But Bernard is a very good gospel preacher, very good Bible teacher, and he's also one of the elders of the Mission Congregation. This is Teddy, our librarian. We have a very good library over there. We try to continue to increase it. This is in chapel at the CSOP chapel. We did change the name back to Chamala School of Preaching. I may have mentioned that sometime back. This was one of our earlier, actually one of our first graduate classes of Chamala Bible College. When we started the Bear Valley program, we don't have that program any longer, but we still have the School of Preaching. We've had a number of classes that have graduated since then. These guys are out preaching and teaching. Not all of them, obviously, because not every school, every guy that graduates is preaching. That happens here in the States. It happens there too. But the great majority of them are very active workers in the church. Of course, the work that we want to do in the School of Preaching, we have the weekend evangelism that continues to go on every week that the students are in session. On the weekends are reserved for going out and doing the door knocking. There are also every summer the campaigns. These are the ladies' seminars. We have 1 week a ladies' seminar. Then we have a preacher's seminar that lasts a week, as well as our youth. We have a seminar for that as well. So that takes 3 weeks out of the summer. Then we have another about 4 weeks that we dedicate for the Gospel Chariot campaigns. And those are used in different locations that are strategic, chosen ahead of time, cooperated with local churches where we can do, gospel preaching outdoors, door knocking, set up Bible studies, tracts, and those kind of things. And so that's a busy time of the year during the summertime. The school's back in session, and they will end about end of October for the end of the year and start back in January. The hospital is a very challenging. The challenge of Africa, you could say that alone just for the hospital. It is one of the most important. It's all important. The gospel is the most important, obviously. But when it comes down to human interaction and challenges and difficulties and problems, we all know our health is probably the most important thing in our lives other than the church and Jesus Christ and our soul. It would be pretty close second, if not our family, which we kind of put that in the same category. Well, it's true with them as well. They care about their health, and it's a big deal. It's a big thing, and there are a lot of challenges. There's challenges here, there are challenges there as far as health. Now, here's Lee Wright speaking in chapel. Every morning at 7:30, as we've always said, there's chapel in all the different departments, and this is chapel that morning there. I forgot what day it was, but Monday through Friday, they have this big wheel rim. It hangs from a rope or something, and the guy goes out there with a big old heavy rod, and he bangs that thing at 7:30, and you can hear it all over the mission. And if you're standing under there when he rings it, it'll about make you deaf. I don't know how the patients deal with it, but so chapel starts at 7:30 with a bang, and so there's singing, and then someone speaks, and if we go, they always get us to speak. And here's Lee speaking that morning at chapel. The mission continues to kind of expand out. It was originally it was just a metal building. I'll show you in a little bit. But the quad, the four sides where it has the maternity, the women's ward, men's ward, and the children's ward. Now it's got other things that are attached to it, an HIV clinic and women's new mother's wellness program and those kind of things. A lot more has been added onto it and updated on the mission hospital since those days. There you go. There's the old original hospital. It was a metal building. It's not in the same location as it originally was. It's now used as a chicken hatchery, kind of a nursery for chicks. One of the things that's important in any mission place or any place in the world is water. This is a hydraulic ram or hydrum, and it just runs off of water pressure, basically. No electricity, no gasoline, diesel, nothing. It's just water pressure. Operates this and sends water to a holding tank that gravity feeds down to the mission. It used to feed the whole mission. Now we have a deep well pump that gives us good water, but a lot of parts of the mission still have the river water. This is as clean river water as basically you're going to get anywhere. And the local people will drink it regularly. Of course, they end up with worms, but they drink it regularly. We use it, the gardeners use it for all kind of things, watering things. There's a canal that comes through the whole mission, but this particular hydrum feeds a tank that feeds a saline water filtration system for the hospital. So this is really important. It's not just important for the general use of the mission, other than drinking, but it's used for providing, clean water for the hospital for so many things. And they use a lot of water. We have 3 large 10,000-liter tanks. The tanks are used to process the river water into clean water for the use of the hospital. We wash a lot of linens, bed sheets, uniforms, gowns, all kind of things are washed. We've had I don't know how many electricians we have in here. Anybody electrician or involved with electricity? Well, have you ever rewound a motor? You don't ever hear that much, but it's done there all the time. They rewind transformers, they rewind, when you've got 1960s washing machines from the United States, motors burn out, you can't get those motors, so they rewind the motors for these wash machines. And it's just that these things are having to be done by hand. in a lot of ways. So a lot of needs for the water and good water cleaning equipment. We've had nursing students come over. We constantly get applications or requests all over the world. People want to come to Chimala, spend 4 weeks, 6 weeks at the hospital, working with the hospital, third world conditions. And so Harding and OCU and others, trying to get Freed-Hardeman, will come and they'll send their students over and they'll spend weeks over there and they learn a lot about third world medicine. Here are some new things that we've gotten for the hospital. Over the last couple of years, we've gotten a new sterile operational theater, and you may have, hopefully you read about that. It's very, very nice. It's still Tanzanian, but it is so much better than what we had. We've got new surgical tools and instruments. We had a brother in Chattanooga, Tennessee, retired orthopedic surgeon who gave us all his orthopedic tools. And that was a great blessing for us because now we have an orthopedic surgeon that is basically on call. If we need him, he'll come over. We didn't have anybody there. He'll come over to Chimala and he'll come as we need him. And he'll do work on people, and he has the tools to do it with. We didn't have that before. We had to refer him to other hospitals. We have a new mortuary, a 3-bay refrigerated morgue. Not a pleasant thing, but it is one of the most popular and well-loved things that we've done at the Chimala Mission among the people in the community of the town. We have a new, a used, upgraded portable x-ray machine. It's now needing batteries. Get me started on the electricity over there. It's so dirty. You heard of dirty electricity? They have dirty electricity. It can damage all kinds of appliances. A lightning strike took out our x-ray machine about 3 years ago. We finally got it repaired after a year waiting for parts. These kind of things happen. So we've been trying to stay on top of this. New solar power inverter and batteries. Our batteries are already dying all over again because when power is not consistent, they're having to run the inverter. They're having to power for nighttime lights. Diesel's expensive. They run out of money to run the generator at night. They got to have patients who are in the hospital room. They've got to have lights. And they can't do certain things. They can't run x-rays on the regular x-ray unless they have the grid power, TANESCO power. So just a lot of difficulties when you're trying to operate things. And so solar power is good, but it doesn't work at night. Your batteries are all you've got, and those batteries, when they're deeply discharged over and over and over again every day, you just eventually wear them out pretty quickly. We've got some new baby warmers and incubators, and we're looking at perhaps even more. That's been a great, great blessing that we've had. We've got new tile floor in the women's ward. There's another thing in here that didn't show up on this slide. And we got a new butterfly ultrasound that was suggested to us by a doctor down in Temple, Texas. He bought it for us. We used it, but they wore it out. It quit working. Long story, we ended up having to buy a local one from Mbeya for about the same amount of money, maybe a little bit more, but they like it better. Because it's got this little computer screen and everything, and whereas I had one that you could plug into an iPad or iPhone. So anyway, that's new on there as well. You see, when you're in a hospital, and I didn't realize this, when you don't have an x-ray machine, if you don't have an ultrasound machine, if you don't have some of these things, guess what? Patients go somewhere else. Well, we don't offer free health care. Wish we could, but we don't. It has to be paid for. And so if you need an x-ray and the hospital won't offer you one, what do? You have to go to another hospital. So that means that's income that's supposed to help generate a self-sustainable hospital that loses money, and so it gets in debt. Pharmaceuticals, government not paying back NHIF, getting behind in National Social Security funding, all those kind of things are constantly are affecting this hospital as it would any hospital, but ours is a whole lot less complicated, and yet it is still very complicated. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on with the hospital. There's the new construction you can see when we were starting the new surgical center. This is the new surgery center finished. There's a portable x-ray machine that we ordered from Florida. They loved it because when the power's out, they can still do x-rays. But again, the batteries was the problem. This is the old mortuary, pretty gloomy looking. This is the new one. And this is the new 3-bay refrigerated morgue. We bought that in the States. We had it shipped over. It was made with 220 power, 50 cycles, so it can run really well over there. This is unloading it. This is the last container that you'll probably ever see unloaded at Chimala, unless we have some special particular need. This is the new baby incubator. They had just gotten it in, and they're checking it out, and so it's been a great, great asset to the hospital. Here's some of the nurses there working at the hospital with some of the children. I wish I could tell you about the story about the lady on the right. Her name is Sarah Bai. She was named after our daughter, Sarah, because when her mother was expecting her, she was really sick, and we helped her to get well. She delivered a healthy baby, and she named her Sarah. So this is Sarah, grown up, now working at the Chimala Mission Hospital. I love stories like that. But yeah, there's our new X-ray, our new ultrasound, rather. Ours was, Butterfly ultrasound was a handheld model with an iPad. You could walk around wards, take it with you, enter your information on your iPad. They like this better. I like the big computer screen with a little ball tracking and all that. But, that's what they prefer. That's what we got. A lot of stories like this. I won't go into this one. This little boy had literally a bug in his ear. They were trying to get it out. This was a really tragic situation. Just tell you real quickly, we had a bus line accident. This bus line has had several accidents. So if you're travel to Tanzania, don't take the Sherry line, okay? This bus went off the road. 13 people died in this bus accident. We tried to pull it out with our Land Cruiser. It was 12 tons versus 2 tons. You just can't win with that, with a winch even. And anyway, it was a very tragic night as our hospital got very, very busy. And this happens on occasions. About every month and a half to 2 months, you'll have a bus accident. This is one of the worst ones they had. And this looks very peaceful, but every one of those wards is full of people injured. They brought the people in on the back of a truck, injured. Some of them are passed out, unconscious. Some of them were dead. They carried them out, stretchers, by arms, wheelchairs, all different kind of ways to get them in. I was very proud of how they all worked together to help in very difficult situations, but they did get the job done. I want to move on to the primary school, it's about 450 kids. One of the things that I don't hear about a lot, I wish I heard more about, is when they have baptisms, they don't always report them. And I was just talking to our primary school teacher, and he told me they had another 29 more baptisms, and I didn't know. And it wasn't even these kids. This is another group of kids that were baptized. And so they do continually have children who hear the gospel over and over again, obey the gospel. And these are late elementary age kids, probably around 10, 11, 12. Inside the grounds of the primary school. And here are some of these book bags we were talking about. Every first of the year, we hand out these book bags to the kids. So, 450 book bags goes out to primary school. Another 120-something go to the secondary school. Here's some of their graduation pictures. These are Preacher's Kids. We have a Preacher's Kids program that we try to keep funded. The way we look at it, a lot of these preachers, they're volunteering their time to preach. They don't receive anything or very little. And what time have I got? Let's see. I had to think what time zone I'm in here. Okay, so it's 7 after. I got, about another 10 minutes roughly? Something like that. Okay. So we try to keep this program funded. So a lot of the preachers do not have any means other than little small gardens or little small businesses. They don't really get income from the churches that they preach for. And so this program was developed to help those families to send their kids to our schools. So these are primary school kids of preachers that we fund so that they can have a good Bible education. Herring Christian Secondary School has forms 1 through 4. They're a smaller school. We have a capacity for probably 400. This is one of the graduations. It's a big deal to graduate from Form 4. They study hard for their national exams from grade 7 to go to Form 1 and from Form 4 to go to Form 5 if they want to continue their education. I've even made a challenge because we need Christian doctors so badly. I've made a challenge to the Tanzanians that if they would find a good candidate that I would help them go to medical school. And it's a lot cheaper than, I couldn't do that here, but over there I can kind of help them. And so I'm looking at one guy right now. He's actually our farm manager's son, very sharp young man, and that he's interested in that program because we need Christian doctors at the hospital. We need people who will actually dedicate themselves, who bring forth, you got all kind of denominational kind of people coming in and that kind of thing, and we don't like the influences that they bring in, and we want Christian personnel as much as possible at the hospital. And so right now we do not currently have a Christian doctor at the hospital. We have those who call themselves Christians, but we want Christian doctors and nurses if at all possible. And if you don't prepare for them, if you don't train them, how are you going to get them? How can you expect them? So we're trying to do that even ourselves personally. Every Thursday night, for the last, 2 trips or 3 trips I think we've made over there, Mary's been conducting a Thursday night class with the secondary school girls. And she's been real consistent in that. The girls love this class. They sing English songs, and then she talks to them in English. Of course, she knows enough Swahili, she can kind of help explain words. But that's become a really good program, and she's had a number of the girls tell them that they want to be baptized, but they are afraid what their parents will say. So that's kind of the things that you run into. So you have to be careful how you deal with that. But it does show you that these girls are listening, and whether they obey the gospel, right away or not, or end up later on in life, at least the seed has been planted. They're being taught. The farm program, we'll go through that very quickly. There's Nathan, and there's Ezekiel. Ezekiel is the one I was talking about. His son is the one that is a possible candidate for the program. Ezekiel's a very smart young man. He's got great English skills, great translator, good Bible student, fair farm manager. We're working on improving that. But those are beans behind there, and you say, oh, you got great beans. Well, we're learning a hard lesson. If you're going to really make money with crops, you've got to grow a whole lot of crops. And we've got 450 acres and another 300 else up, but it's not all tillable land, and it's not all controllable land. We just had huge fires take out hundreds and hundreds of acres, not our land, but other lands, and it's actually come on our property before. It's happened before. Actually, tomorrow's Mary's birthday. I know her birthday, but in 2015, on her birthday, the entire Elsa farm was wiped out by grass fires. Totally wiped it out. We tried to stop it. We couldn't. All you got is branches to hit with, and you try to stand at the fire breaks and you stop them there, and you can't do it. But it's as dry as powder, and the wind blows up and down that mountain, and the grass. And we try to do our fire breaks, but the fire leaps the brakes and takes off, and you can't hardly stop it. So we're looking at other alternatives. We've already started cattle. If you remember me telling you, the old Elsa farm was actually a German pig farm. The Germans knew something that maybe we need to learn. They raised pigs there. They didn't row crop. They raised pigs. They raised livestock. We're already doing chickens. We did pigs before, but again, a lot of lessons learned. Just some of the equipment that we've had. The planter you're looking at there, you say, oh, great, you got a planter. Well, it's a horrible planter. I'll just tell you, it's a horrible planter. And so, yeah, the beans look great, but you've got different kinds of grass that's there that you can't see. You've got all kind of issues with mildew. If you get too much rain, you get a lot of mildew and stuff like that. You've got warthogs. You've got feral pigs. You've got baboons and monkeys. You've got all these things to deal with, and we just don't have enough shotgun shells to take care of those things. Equipment breaks down. There's no tractor supply nearby, and so it can be quite a challenging thing to work the farm. This is our chicken house. That says new. I should take the word new off of it. Now it's about going on its 3rd year. We tried layers. It worked great, but if you don't have a constant supplier of chicks, you can't work it out. So we're doing broilers now, and that so far has been our most profitable venture. And they're much more of, you keep them for 3 months, nothing can go wrong with them, and then you sell them to the market. Whereas the layers, after a while, they molt, they're susceptible to disease. There's all kinds of problems that you have to really control, and we don't have a really good controlled environment as we would like to have. There's our mill. We do mill our own corn. We mill our own rice. The old mission house in the 1970s, I think I've shown you this picture before. This was the old German mission house that they lived in. And then the missionaries took it over in the 50s. Brother Eccles, Elder Eccles, Guy Caskey, others, they bought the property from James Cormick, and and they did a lot of work. They had the Tanganyika Bible School. Preachers were trained up there. Linko Sumkwamba, one of the oldest Christians in the country, knew Andrew Connolly, worked for Andrew Connolly a lot. He actually went to school up there, and his kids were a little bitty when he was there. And but all of that was abandoned in the late 70s, and so this is what happened to the property. Well, we rebuilt it in 2015. That's what it looks like today, basically. It's off the grid. We have solar panel. We have wind turbine because we don't have the grid up there. The estate starts every day at 7:30 with chapel. Here's Nathan speaking in chapel at the shop, where we have our wood shop, our electrical, plumbing, automotive, fabrication, all kind of things, parts, supplies there. We have a regularly scheduled monthly department heads meeting where we discuss different things of the different departments. It's very important for running the mission. Many small congregations around the area. This is at Njombe, a little small tiny church where the guy translating for Nathan, he helped start that congregation. And this is a place called Manyoro. We went to visit it our Sunday before we came home this last trip. They do have a new building project, and they said, "You are going to get us money for this building." I said, "I don't know if I can do that or not." But there's always these projects that they want to do. They don't know how to ask sometimes, so you can't take that personally. You think, well, to tell them that if they talk like that, they're not going to get any money. Well, that's just kind of, they're not all that way, but sometimes they come across that way. This is one of our trips. Actually, this was on Christmas Day, and these three young ladies obeyed the gospel. And I told them, I said, "You'll never forget your spiritual birthday." It was what the West calls Christmas Day. A lot of the congregations around, it's one of the small churches called Chelsea A that we've always enjoyed going out on Wednesday afternoons. We only have a few adults in the building having Bible class, but the real teaching is done outside where the kids come up for the Bible class when Mary teaches. No, we don't eat snakes or fish heads. All some people do. We eat regular chicken, pizza every Friday night. Here's Sunday night. This is Sunday night. It's a Sunday night tradition. We different ones make pizza. Christy makes. She's been making this barbecue pizza lately. Mary makes our traditional pepperoni pizzas. We bring pepperonis with us when we go over there. But it's a tradition that's gone way back, probably over 20 years, for Sunday night pizza night for the missionaries to get together and do that. So it's not so horrible to be there. We enjoy being there. In fact, sometimes we enjoy it a little too much because we know we've got to go back home. Although we love our home, you know, when you leave, when you got family on both sides of the world, it's really kind of a tug of war to know where you want to stay. But it is wonderful work. We appreciate the support this congregation gives and others for the Chamala mission work. It's different than anything I've ever been involved in. It's one of the most rewarding works I've ever been a part of. And I invite you, if you ever get an opportunity to want to come over and visit, I'll just warn you up front, it's not an easy trip. It's a tough trip, and it gets tougher. But, you know, it can be done. We've done it so many times. And, you know, it's kind of like anything else. Once you get through it, you get over it, you forget all about the pain getting there. And then you know what's coming when you return home. But it's still not it's something that's very beneficial. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to the people. It's a blessing to us. And, again, we ask that you pray that this church that we're talking to will one day be able to oversee that work, but they're going to have to get the mission where it becomes self-sustaining to do that. We don't want to turn the mission over to them financially when they don't have the finances to run and operate it. That would be a disaster, and they understand that up front. So pray for that. Pray that they'll grow spiritually. Pray that the mission will be successful as far as the farm program. that all the departments will be successful, that the hospital will be able to get itself managed, that we can get some Christian doctors and Christian nurses, more of them working there at the hospital. Again, thank you for your time. Do you have any questions or comments before we conclude the presentation? All right. Well, thank you very much and appreciate your attention. We're dismissed.